Welcome back to the Pro Sports Podcasters on YouTube. My name's Colbert Duran. Most of you know me as Kobe from the podcast. And today I want to take a look at the new NFL All Day Playbook. Or should I say Playbooks, because there's actually two now. You've got a rookie level and an All Pro level. The rookie level is basically aimed at new accounts, at new people joining the platform, as well as casual collectors. And then the All Pro level is pretty much aimed at whales. And I can say that because the cost to compete at the premium level in the All Pro level is 2 rares. That's not a cheap cost. That's not an easy thing to give up in order to compete at that level. Also, a number of their challenges require legendaries, which not everybody has. Now, we do have this massive gap between the two playbooks, and unfortunately, I fit in that. Okay, so these are collectors like myself that I've got over 300 moments, and I do own a legendary, but just one, and I have a number of rares, but not a fleet of rares. So competing at the All Pro level is difficult for me, if not foolhardy. Chances are I'm not going to really benefit from it. Competing at the rookie level is relatively easy for me, but does it really tap into what I've built, right? Does it take advantage of everything I've put together? Not really. Not really. So I'm kind of in this no man's land in the middle, but that doesn't bother me that much because what I want to see from this platform is growth, most importantly. That's the first thing I'm after, and the rookie level playbook can help us do that. Okay? It can help build interest in All Day, get new people on the platform and active right away, buying moments for a particular reason, right, for a purpose, and benefiting from it. Okay, now it's the benefit that I have an issue with when it comes to rookie, but I'll get into that later. Now, my wife and I are actually competing at the Rookie Playbook this particular week, and there was a number of predictive challenges involved, and that's a big part now of the playbooks, at least it seems that way. Of course, this is, like I've mentioned before, All Day version 3.0, the Inferno, so burning plays a part. You've got the possibility of burning rares even to get additional yards. You've also got the cost of entry, which is on the rookie side, burn 2 commons. On the rare side, on the All Pro side, burn 2 rares. So the burning is there, right? Let's get the bonfire going. But you've got a number of predictive challenges, and I want to go over the ones in the rookie level and who we selected and why we selected them. So let's get into that now. So let's get right into it with the Rookie Playbook and the predictive challenges that were made a couple days ago, previous to the Thursday night game, Bills versus Patriots. And it begins with Unstoppable Force. And this is the team that records the most points in Week 13 of the NFL season. And I went with low-hanging fruit. I went with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The Kansas City Chiefs are one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL, led by Patrick Mahomes with multiple capable targets and a number of running backs that can add to that, plus the top tight end in the league in Travis Kelce. The Kansas City Chiefs are constantly putting up big points. And that's one of the reasons I chose them. But the other reason is because they're playing the Cincinnati Bengals, another high-octane offense, right? They're going to put up lots of points too. So I expect this game to be a shootout. It's going to go back and forth with both teams finding the end zone in a number of different ways, and it's going to probably come down to whoever has the ball last. And I expect Kansas City Chiefs to get the win here, and as a result of that, be the highest scoring offense of Week 13. So that's what I went with. Amy went a different route. She actually looked to the NFC, and she went with the Minnesota Vikings over the New York Jets. And it makes sense, right? The Vikings are essentially the NFC version of the Kansas City Chiefs. They're an explosive, high-octane offense. They've got one of the best wide receivers in Justin Jefferson. They've got a number of additional targets that are very capable. They've got one of the best running backs in Dalvin Cook, and Kirk Cousins is a very capable quarterback who can get the ball to his playmakers. On top of that, they're going against the New York Jets. Now, here's where we differ. I went with 2 high-octane offenses, hoping it's going to be a shootout. Amy went with a high-octane offense against a shitty team when it comes right down to it, right? You've got the New York Jets, who may or may not be led by their number 2 pick, Zach Wilson, who's proven to be a flop up till now, who don't do much. They don't stop much. You've got Sauce Gardner, who's been one of their one bright spots over the course of the season, but he can't cover all of Minnesota's targets. So she expects this to be a cakewalk for the Minnesota Vikings. And as a result of that, they're going to rack up the score and put up maximum points. So that's what she went with. I like my pick better, but we'll see which one of us gets it right. Or if neither of us gets it right, because again, this is a situation of you either pick the perfect team or you lose. You're going to see a lot of that when it comes to the rookie side of things. Next, we've got the immovable object. So this is the team that we believe will give up the least amount of points. And we actually agreed here. Both of us picked the same team, and for the similar reasons. Okay, so we both went with the Buffalo Bills, who played last night, the Thursday night game, and they allowed the New England Patriots 10 points. Now, here's why we wanted it. Number 1, short week. Generally, Thursday night games aren't as explosive as Sunday or Sunday night or Monday night games because the teams are still relatively tired. Okay, so you've got that on your side. Number 2, the Buffalo Bills basically have the best defense in the league. So you're looking at the top defense in the league versus a not so capable offense, right? The New England Patriots have been pretty good defensively this season, but offensively, they've been a joke. They only scored 1 touchdown early on in the game, and that final 3 points they got, that last field goal, was in garbage time. The game was way out of reach, and they popped up the additional 3 points so it wouldn't look as bad. But of course, it hurts our chances because 10 points is significant. It would not surprise me if another team, someone like the New York Jets or maybe the Detroit Lions, Houston Texans maybe, Pittsburgh Steelers, Chicago Bears, if one of these teams puts up less than 10 points. So I'm not feeling very good about that. Sure, we both went with the Bills, so we're probably going to lose on this one, but we could get lucky, but we'll see. Then you've got that combination prediction, which is pick one AFC team to win and pick one NFC team to win. So both of us picked the same AFC team, and we're good. We both picked the Bills. Short week, number 1 defense against one of the worst offenses. Bills are going to win. They did, so we're good on the AFC side of things. Now on the NFC side of things, we differ. I went with the Vikings. The Vikings come up once again, and why? They're playing against the New York Jets, right? I do not expect the New York Jets to beat the Minnesota Vikings. It's a mismatch. There's no reason for the Jets to get the victory here, so I went with the Vikings as my NFC team. Amy went a different route. She went with the Eagles, and her reason for this being was the Eagles are facing the Titans, and the Titans' one serious threat is Derrick Henry. But can a running back outscore the offense that the Eagles have put together, led by their receiving core in A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? There's 2 very dynamic wide receivers you're looking to stop. They've got great running backs in both Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell. This is an explosive offense. This is an offense that can do some significant damage. Even the quarterback is essentially a running back. So she's looking at it like there's no way Derrick Henry can do enough damage against the Eagles for the Eagles to not get this victory. So that's where she went. Again, see which one of us is right or if we're both wrong. Then you've got a having the night offense and a having the night defense. So the having the night offense is you have to select one player from your collection that you believe will either go over 300 yards passing, 100 yards rushing, or 100 yards receiving. Now in this case, we both went with rushers, okay? By fluke. We both went with rushers. Different rushers, but that's the way we went. We both went with 100 yards on the ground. And that may be the least likely of the 3, really. I almost went with Stephon Diggs. I almost went 100 yards through the air and went with Stephon Diggs. I'm glad I didn't. He finished with 92 yards through the air and a touchdown. So that would have been a fail already. But instead, I went with the running backs. I think we're both fans of running backs, so that kind of adds to why we selected them. And for the having a night offense, I personally went with Nick Chubb against the Houston Texans. It would not surprise me if he puts up another 100-yard game. He is a true rusher of the ball. He's not like one of these gadget running backs that both does a lot of receiving and a lot of rushing. It's sort of split yardage. Someone like a Christian McCaffrey would fit that role, or an Austin Eckler would fit that role. But dedicated rushing, Nick Chubb's the man. So I went with Nick Chubb against the Texans. The Texans are a sloppy team, so I would not be surprised if he puts up big numbers there. And he went with Saquon Barkley. And now Saquon Barkley is really more of a gadget running back, but on that New York Giants offense, they hand him off the ball the majority of the time. It's not a very technical or interesting offense when it comes to the running back side of things. So he's meant to carry the ball quite often, and he is their primary offensive threat, and he's facing the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders have had some life as of recent, right? They've showed some life. They've been somewhat competitive, but that's mostly on the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, they've had a lot of holes, and Saquon can exploit those, so that's who she went with. On the defensive side, on the having a night defense, you've got some options here too. So you've got someone who records 10 or more tackles, someone who records 2 or more sacks, or someone who records an interception. Now, the percentage play here is to go with tackles. Pick yourself a safety or a middle linebacker, depending on who you're facing. I would go with a middle linebacker if you're facing a heavy sort of run-first team, or I would go with a safety if you're having a team that throws a lot through the air, right? And hope that they get their 10-plus tackles. Neither of us want that route either. Then you've got to look at the 2 or more sacks or the 1+ interceptions. Sacks are more likely than interceptions. It's very difficult to predict interceptions. You could just pick an interception specialist, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything's going to happen even close to that player, depending on how the opposing team game plans against them. So we both went with sacks, and I went with the most dominant defensive pass rusher in the league, Myles Garrett. And 2 reasons. One of which, yeah, he's number 1. He's the most dominant pass rusher in the league. Number 2, it's one of the first rare moments I went after early on in NFL All Day, because Myles Garrett is a freak of nature. I am a big fan of the defensive side of the ball, and I had to have him in my collection, so I've got a rare Myles Garrett. And as a result of that, I thought, here's my first opportunity to really play him. I'm going to play him. It's fun for me, right? And again, it's a lottery pick here. You don't really know what's going to happen. So why not? Might as well enjoy it. Amy was a little more, she thought more about her pick, to be honest, and she went with Chris Jones, okay? Another pass rusher with the Kansas City Chiefs against the Cincinnati Bengals, and it makes complete sense. You're looking at what should be, like I mentioned before, a shootout. A lot of passing, right? Quarterbacks dropping back to make big plays. And in this case, it's against Joe Burrow, who takes a lot of sacks. He actually considers sacks a good thing. There's an interview with Joe Burrow recently where he talks about it, where on, say, a 3rd down, if it's a 3rd and long and they're not within field goal range, he's going to purposefully take additional time in the pocket or outside of the pocket in order to try and make a play. He doesn't care if he gets sacked, because they're out of field goal range and they're going to have to punt anyway, so he might as well make the most of that moment. If he takes a sack, c'est la vie, so be it. Who cares? That's the kind of guy you want to play a pass rusher against if you're hoping for them to get 2 or more sacks. And Chris Jones is a sack specialist. He's the guy who gets the majority of sacks for the Kansas City Chiefs. Just makes total sense. So I like her pick. I actually like her pick a little more than mine, but again, I partially picked Myles Garrett for the fun of it. And those are our selections for the predictive picks on the rookie side of the new playbooks. Let me know who you selected. Let me know if you agree or disagree with either my picks or Amy's picks, and whether or not you think you're going to actually benefit from this new playbook format. Till next time.